All right, let's jump right in. Imagine this. I ask you a question. It seems pretty simple, right? What does the population trend of a farm animal, say, have to do with the health of a whole society or its economy or even, its democracy?
Sounds a bit out there, doesn't it?
Okay.
But today, we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating document. It argues there's this profound connection, almost forgotten, between exactly that, the Nandi, the bull or ox, and, well, the fundamental well-being of a nation.
Yeah, it's not just about farming. What's really striking, I think, is how this document lays out a whole worldview, really challenges how we think about progress today.
Exactly. So our mission here is to unpack the Nandi Kuku Abhiyana, that's the Nandi Roar campaign, and this philosophy behind it called Basava Tattva. This source, it's suggesting a pretty fundamental shift, maybe even radical, arguing that, traditional wisdom might actually have answers for our modern problems.
And it kicks off with a number that just grabs you, a real demographic bombshell. The document says before India's independence, the Nandi population was, get this, 1.25 billion.
Billion. It's hard to even picture that scale.
Right. But today, it's crashed down to only 250 million.
Wow.
And the kicker, in that same time, the human population in India shot up fivefold. The authors, they don't pull any punches. They call this imbalance unscientific growth.
Yeah, that phrase really stands out, unscientific growth. It immediately tells you there's a deeper problem here.
Definitely.
And what's maybe even more surprising, the document points out, is that at the same time, India's become the world's biggest exporter of beef.
Which seems like a paradox.
Right.
And it begs the question, why? How?
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the document totally flips the usual script.
Yeah, so.
It argues that it's not really the farmers selling cattle, or the buyers, or the butchers, or even us consumers. They're not the main reason for this huge export rate.
Okay, that's a bold claim. So if it's not them, then who or what is responsible, according to this source?
Well, the core issue, as they see it, is a critical lack of support. Supportive laws, beneficial government schemes, specifically for the farmers who raise cattle traditionally.
Oh, okay.
And they contrast this really sharply with all the help available facilities, subsidies for buying tractors and other machinery.
So it shows a kind of systemic neglect.
Yeah.
Almost like the system prefers machines over bullocks.
That's exactly the picture they paint, an active disinvestment almost in that traditional way of farming.
And that neglect,
Yeah.
it stands out even more when you look elsewhere, right? The source makes comparison, doesn't it?
It does. It draws this stark contrast. Other groups in society, pregnant women, students, unemployed graduates, the elderly they often get, and rightly so, government support, various welfare schemes.
Sure. Makes sense.
But the farmers nurturing bullocks, despite their huge historical contribution and their potential ongoing role, they get basically nothing. It's an imbalance, the document says, is just, well, unsustainable.
So is this lack of support maybe combined with not enough awareness about how important bullock agriculture still is?
Exactly. According to the source, that's the direct cause. It's why so many cattle end up going to slaughterhouses. It's presented less as a conscious choice by farmers and more like an unintended, really damaging consequence of these bigger policy gaps and, frankly, a lack of understanding.
Okay, so if Nandi agriculture has dropped off so dramatically,
Yeah.
what does the document say are the wider impacts beyond the farm?
Oh, they go big. They take this sweeping historical view. They argue that Nandi-based agriculture wasn't just farming. It was the foundation of civilization itself.
Wow, the foundation.
That's the claim. And so its decline isn't just an agricultural issue. They directly link it to the decline of civilization, a rise in what they call societal perversions, and even a weakening of democracy.
That is a huge claim, connecting the bullock in the field to the health of the democratic system. Incredible.
It really connects the dots in a way you don't often see, linking agriculture, economics, societal structure, even spirituality. And to help understand that link, the document introduces this core philosophical idea. It presents two competing worldviews.
Right, this is the Basava Tattva versus the Tail Tattva.
Exactly. Basava's philosophy versus the oil or machine philosophy. It's framed as a fundamental choice we're facing, leading to two very different futures.
Okay, let's unpack those. So, Basava Tattva first. The Nandi-based way. What's that look like?
Well, the source of power is Nandi itself a living being. The resources, the energy, it's all renewable. They actually call it divine power.
Divine power, okay.
And this path, the vision, is it leads to a society that's healthy, self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And importantly, power is decentralized, spread out.
And what does it preserve? The document lists quite a few things, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's incredibly broad. It argues Basavatattva preserves the basics like soil, water, good food, crop diversity, biodiversity in general.
The environmental stuff.
Right. But it goes way beyond that. It protects indigenous cow breeds, the traditional family structure, culture, jobs, the Constitution, even religion itself. The end goal they paint. Green India, green world. A sustainable future.
Okay. That's one path. Now the alternative. Tail Tattva. The
Yeah.
oil and machine way.
Yeah, and it's presented as a stark contrast. Here, the power source is non-living oil. The resources are non-renewable. And they label this demonic power.
Whoa. Demonic power. That's strong language.
It is, and they claim this path leads to a society that's disease-dependent. And unlike Basavatattva's decentralization, this one actively pushes for centralized power.
And the consequences. If Basavatattva preserves things, what does Tail Tattva do?
According to the source, it destroys them. It's linked directly to the destruction of pretty much everything Basavatattva protects. Soil degradation, water depletion, poor food quality, loss of diversity, the end of indigenous cows, family breakdown, cultural erosion, unemployment, a weaker constitution, even religion struggling to survive.
So it's destroying the foundations.
That's the argument. And the outcome they foresee for this path. Barren India, barren world. It's presented as a very clear, very alarming choice. An existential one, really.
And they don't just leave it as philosophy, right? They
Right.
connect it to the numbers we talked about earlier.
Exactly. They draw this very specific correlation. They state that the 80% decline in Nandi wealth over the last 20 years directly indicates an 80% destruction of Basavatattva.
An 80% decline means 80% destruction. It's like an equation.
It's presented that way, yes. A precise measure of how far things have gone down the wrong path, in their view.
And they bring in history and spirituality, too, don't they? Something about temples.
Yeah, this is really fascinating. They point to the fact that you see Nandi idols placed right in front of Shivalings in so many Shiva temples all over the world.
Uh-huh. You do see that.
And they argue this isn't just decoration, it's evidence, they say, that Nandi agriculture is the fundamental root of all religions established on Earth.
Wow. So it's not just about India or Hinduism even. It's a universal root, they're saying.
That's the claim. It really elevates the whole discussion beyond just economics or environment, placing it right at the heart of our spiritual and historical origins as a civilization.
Okay. So, given this diagnosis, this decline, this wrong path, what specific crises does the document predict if things keep going this way, if Nandi agriculture keeps declining?
Well, it details some really troubling scenarios across the board. For agriculture itself, it warns farmers will face crippling debt, total loss of soil fertility, just devastation.
In industries that depend on farming.
Widespread bankruptcy predicted,
Really?
sugar factories, dal mills, rice mills, key sectors just collapsing.
That sounds like it would ripple outwards significantly. What about government?
They speculate it could get really serious. Difficulty paying government employee salaries, maybe even cutting them in half.
That would cause chaos.
Exactly. And education. Its value would plummet, they argue, because the sectors that provide jobs are collapsing. So you see rising educated unemployment, social breakdown.
Goodness, it keeps getting worse. Health, politics.
For health, they suggest the medical field could even lose its value if we're facing uncontrollable diseases linked to this degraded environment and food system. And politically, leaders might struggle to govern if state employees aren't complying because of salary issues.
It sounds like a potential systemic collapse scenario.
Yeah.
Even religion is affected.
Yes. The document argues that even religions themselves could struggle to survive if this Nandi-based foundation they claim exists is completely neglected. It's a remarkably grim, deeply interconnected picture they paint.
Okay, so that's the warning.
Okay.
What did the document say is driving the need for change right now? What contemporary issues make this urgent?
It lists several key things happening today. Escalating farmer debt, we see that in the news. Rising health problems, both physical and mental. The looming threat of wars driven by oil scarcity, which they say could double all the existing problems. Plus, leaders are already struggling to provide basic necessities or, the freebies people expect. And interestingly, they also mention technology. Social media is spreading awareness of these problems faster than ever. And artificial intelligence, they suggest, is making complex truths, like the ones they're presenting, easier for everyone to grasp. So the problems are becoming undeniable.
That sense of urgency really leads us to the campaign itself then. The Nandi Hugu. The Nandi Roar. What's its core purpose?
Its stated goal is pretty clear, to bring back Basava-Tattva, but importantly, not through blind faith. They emphasize using scientific thinking, organizing the Nandi farmers themselves, and building broad public awareness.
And it's not just talk, right? They've already taken concrete actions.
Definitely. They've set things in motion. For instance, on November 15th, 2024, that was Gauri Hunname, an auspicious day, there was a big 40-kilometer foot march.
40 kilometers, that's quite a statement.
It really is. It started from Jnana Yogashrama in Vijayapura, a respected spiritual place, and went to Sri Siddheshwar Swamiji's ancestral home, kind of a symbolic return to roots.
And who led it? What came out of it?
It was led by Sri Mallikarjun Hadi, and they made this powerful pledge to increase Nandi wealth tenfold in the next 10 years.
Tenfold in 10 years. That's incredibly ambitious.
Hugely ambitious. And Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, an international agricultural scientist, was there too. He stressed combining new tech with Nandi agriculture for a sustainable future. It's not about going backwards, but integrating wisdom.
Okay, so the pledge was made. Then what happened?
Then came the formal launch of the Nandi Kugu campaign. That was January 10th, 2025, on Vaikunta Ekadashi, another significant day.
And what happened at the launch?
Agriculture graduates actually performed a Pada Puja, that's foot worship, for 16 bullock farmers. It happened right at the Swamiji's birthplace, a deeply symbolic act honoring the farmers.
Wow, that's powerful imagery. Did they make specific demands?
Yes, very concrete ones. They're calling for a state law. This law would allocate 10% of the annual budget specifically to Nandi farmers for the next decade.
10% for 10 years. Okay.
And alongside that, a monthly incentive payment Rs 11,000 per pair of bullocks. The whole idea is to build public support, political will to get a law like that passed.
They're really aiming for systemic change through policy.
Absolutely. And they kept the momentum going. On April 30th, 2025, Basava Jayanti, they made another resolution, this time at Sri Sailam, another major spiritual site.
And what was that resolution?
This one was really about political commitment. The campaigners pledged they wouldn't return home until more than half the people in the state were actively working for Nandi agriculture restoration.
Half the people.
Yes. And until they created a situation where people would actually vote for leaders who support restoring Nandi agriculture, it shows this incredible dedication to shifting the political landscape from the ground up.
That's serious commitment. Now, the document connects this local campaign to something more global, right? Sadhguru's Save Soil movement.
It does, yeah. And that connection is really compelling. It explains that both campaigns, though different in origin, are essentially advocating for a similar kind of soil restoration law.
Okay, and what would that law involve?
3 key things, according to the document. First, incentives for farmers who use nature-friendly practices. Second, making sure all farmers get the benefit of carbon credits if they're farming sustainably. And third, guaranteeing a good market price for crops grown on land that's rich in organic carbon.
So rewarding good stewardship of the land.
Exactly. And the document mentions that these proposed laws, these ideas, have already been put forward to both the state and central governments. So there's a clear pathway they're trying to push for actual systemic change.
Linking the local Nandi movement to the global soil health push.
Yeah.
It definitely strengthens the argument that this isn't just some niche issue.
Right. It positions this traditional wisdom, this Nandi-based approach, as a key part, maybe a fundamental part, of solving modern global ecological problems. It's saying the old ways have new relevance.
So, if these changes start happening, if Basava-Tattva gains ground, what does the document see for the future, particularly around leadership in society?
Well, it throws out a pretty provocative idea about leadership. It basically says that only politicians who prioritize Basava-Tattva and Kayaka-Tattva is the philosophy of work is worship, will remain leaders.
So, a direct challenge, implying that leaders who don't align with these principles will lose support, lose legitimacy.
That's the strong suggestion, yes. It's saying the criteria for leadership might fundamentally shift.
And how do they propose making this happen? Are there practical plans?
Yes, they outline some frameworks for development. For politics, there's an initiative called Our Village, Our Nandi Wealth. The aim is to consolidate public opinion, get people voting for Nandi-friendly leaders, regardless of their party.
Grassroots political action.
Exactly. And for business, there's Our Enterprise, Our Nandi Wealth. This encourages developing and using products and businesses based on Nandi and cows, creating a kind of circular, self-sustaining economy around it.
Okay, so political change and economic development hand in hand.
And it all seems to feed into this bigger vision, an initiative using technology called the Nandi Gram Swaraja Yojana. That translates to Nandi Village Self-Rule Scheme.
Village self-rule, what does that involve?
It sounds like a really comprehensive plan for integrated development, covering spiritual, economic, environmental, practical, educational, social, and political aspects. A truly holistic approach to revitalizing villages.
It sounds incredibly ambitious. What's the ultimate goal of all this?
The ultimate vision is massive. Achieving a self-reliant India, which the source poetically describes as a Deva Bhumi, a divine land.
A divine land built on self-reliant villages.
That's the idea. And through achieving that, India could ultimately reposition itself as a Viswaguru, a world teacher, guiding other nations towards this kind of sustainable, holistic way of life.
Wow, okay. We have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. I mean, starting from that stark statistic about the Nandi population decline.
Yeah, all the way to potentially becoming a world teacher.
Exactly. Through this whole philosophy of Basavatattva, the critique of the machine age, the specific campaign actions, and this grand vision for the future. It's a really cohesive, if challenging, argument they're making.
It definitely is. It links Nandi agriculture to, well, pretty much everything. Society, economy, environment, spirituality, politics. It's far bigger than just farming.
And the source definitely conveys a strong sense of urgency, a call to action, really.
Absolutely. It argues that the choices we make now regarding this balance are critical for the future. It really pushes you to reconsider traditional knowledge through maybe a modern scientific lens.
It does. And maybe to leave you, the listener, with something to really think about, building on everything we've discussed. Here's a question based on that ambitious pledge. What scientific changes, but also social economic changes? What would actually happen if Nandi wealth increased tenfold, just like they pledged, right in your own village or your community over the next, say, 5 years?
That's a fascinating thought experiment.
It is, isn't it? What would that look like? What would it feel like? Maybe take some time, explore that question. Consider the implications, big and small, for your own life and the world around you.
ನಂದಿ ಎನ್ನುವ ಪೂಜ್ಯ ದೇವತೆ ನಿನ್ನ ನೆಲೆ ಶಿವ